I thought after the holidays and being around family members and not getting the gifts you wanted for Christmas and getting nothing but gift cards and clothes that don't fit, I thought we would all come back, remove the Christmas trees, take down the Christmas decorations, and understand that some things just don't make sense. But the more and more I live on this planet and have to deal with all this stupid nonsense, I'm realizing that people are just expecting stupidity. People are just expecting individuals to do wrong, continuously do wrong, and no one is there to just call it out as wrong because everybody's afraid of being called something that they're not. And I'm getting tired of living in this weird dystopian reality where people think calling something out is a form of hatred. No, calling something out is a form of protecting a group of individuals that will be hurt by this, because there are individuals who will use the benefits of others to harm other people, specifically younger people, specifically women, more often than not. But what's funny is that we're going to have to put a pin in this because I'm going to have to address it later, because it seems like no one in these groups wants to call this out. I'm mad enough I have to read from the Daily Mail, but thumb-sucking who's 60 years old, who identifies as a 5-year-old girl, comes to court dressed as an elf as she admits to breaching harm order by approaching and kissing 2 girls. Now, if anyone has watched my videos for any length of time, you know how I treat pronouns and transgenders. I will give any human the basic respect they deserve. I will acknowledge that there are people out there who want to be deer, who want to be trees, who want to identify as whatever they want, and genuinely, I don't care, because that's your life. That's what you choose to do with it. I just have one requirement that's not offensive, that's not to harm anybody, that's not to show disrespect. It's never harm anybody. Don't think that your pronouns or what you identify as gives you a pass to do anything that anybody would deem as illegal. Janielle Veranier, 60 years old, who wore a red and green outfit and woolly cardigan fitted with a Santa Claus badge as he pleaded guilty to breaching a sexual harm prevention order at Maidstone Crown Court on Thursday. The transgender pedophile, who was also wearing a red and green elf cap, asked to be addressed as a woman throughout the 15-minute hearing after walking into court assisted by a helper while bells jangled from his costume. I'm gonna be honest, and I don't care who gets mad at me for this, I'm not respecting anybody's pronouns who's a pedophile. I've said this before. I will continue saying it, because unlike most people who get offended, I don't care how you feel, because if the stance is show respect, they want to be identified as such, my response is always going to be, why am I showing respect to somebody who clearly doesn't deserve it? Why would I go out of my way to show proper human decency to somebody who will never earn it from anyone ever again? Why should I take the time to acknowledge somebody's existence and identify their struggle and identify what they want to be referred to as, when they took the time to abuse that and hurt somebody who's younger than them? In what world could you imagine that making any type of sense? I've done this in the past where I've addressed individuals not as how they want to be addressed, all because, not because I hate them, but because of the actions that they did. Because those actions are so egregious, they don't get human respect. They don't get proper human decency. They deserve the same disrespect and even more that they showed to their victims. Veranier also sucked his thumb during the hearing and was also allowed to sit in the public gallery rather than the traditional dock. The court heard Veranier of Chapman Kent approach random schoolgirls between December 18th of 2019 and January 31st earlier this year before kissing them on the lips, despite already being subject to a harm prevention order banning him from contacting children. The order was imposed in November of 2016 when Veranier was jailed for 15 months at Canterbury Crown Court after being seen kissing a child outside a cafe in Thanet. Indecent images were also found on his phone at the time, and psychiatrists found he had personality problems but no mental health issues. I mentioned earlier how we have to put a pin in one section of this video, and we're going to have to also put a pin in this no mental health issues part because it speaks to a greater issue that needs to be addressed later in this video. His sentencing on Thursday was adjourned to February 25th for a probation report to be prepared. A psychiatric report has already been completed. At an earlier court hearing, Veranier had his hair up in pigtails and sucked a dummy as he denied the charges. 3 other counts of failing to comply with the order were dropped by prosecutors. During his appearance at Canterbury Crown Court in 2016, Veranier claimed he identified as a 5-year-old girl named Jorvin Sarin and got a ticking off from a judge for hugging a large doll as he awaited his fate in the dock. Judge Adele Williamson told his defense barrister Paul Hogbin at the time, "This is totally inappropriate, and I make it plain he will not be doing that for the rest of the hearing." Remember the part about no mental health issues? Well, it's time to take all those pins out because whether anybody likes it or not, there are individuals who like to prey on movements, who like to use movements as a way to sneak their way in to do their weird criminal activity. Whether if it's black people, Mexicans, Asians, there's always somebody out there trying to use somebody else's movement for basic respect and acknowledgement to their own advantage. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, they exist. And for the transgender community and this fight for basic human respect for what people identify as, there are those who will take that, see that, and use it to their own advantage to prey on children and women. There is no way anybody should be taking someone seriously that is a 60-year-old who looks like the back end of a plunger, dressing up like a little kid, identifying as a little girl who is openly proven to have been doing things they're not supposed to do to little kids. What world do you deem that as something acceptable? And for the people who like to say all these weird things about me when I talk about situations like this, when I make videos about this, why are you always ready to jump at saying, "Oh my God, respect the pronouns of this person," and "How dare you not respect the pronouns of this person"? I, as a human being who can give basic respect to anybody who deserves it, will not do it for somebody who doesn't. It's just that plain and simple. You can cry that I'm some phobic or I hate a group of people, but at the end of the day, me, the black guy here, the sexiest black YouTuber to ever exist on this platform, can look at a transgender man or woman and say, "How you doing? How's your day? What's up? What are your pronouns? What do you identify as?" Will it be confusing to keep up? Yeah, no shit. But I will still show them basic respect because that's my first interaction. Now, if I find out they're a murderer or somebody who does other criminal activity, that respect goes out the window. It's not that hard to keep that consistent. People like to say, "Oh, you defend this, so you got to defend all of it." No, you don't. You could call out the bad without generalizing everybody. And here's the part where I'm bringing the transgender community into this. All of you as a whole. I'm not saying this is something all of you do. I don't want to make that mistake. I'm not saying every single person out there is out looming for some children. No. What I'm saying is you have to address these situations. You have to address the wrongdoings in your own community, not so that you can stand as some big pariah who's against all the stupidity, but to acknowledge that, yeah, what we want is not what they're doing. What we want is not what they hope to gain. What we want is basic respect for what we identify as. You want to be a man in a woman's body? Whatever. You want to be a transgender woman who transitioned from being a man? Whatever. I don't care. You have to address this because the more you don't and the more you just blindly say, "Oh, everybody's phobic" when talking about things like this, you embarrass yourself. You embarrass what you hold strong. You embarrass your own movement. You're going to get more people who see that and then see you not addressing it or see you calling people transphobic. They're going to look at you and think, "Wow, you're okay with that." And I know for a fact, all of you aren't. All of you don't do that. Some of you just want respect. It's not that hard, but what you're going to have to start doing is calling it out, because the more and more you don't, it seems like you're giving it a pass. Just like all these people who excuse looting and all these criminal activities in all these cities, and people say, "Oh, you're excusing that because you're not talking about it, you're not doing anything about it." People are going to look at you and say, "Oh, you're okay with grown adults identifying as children and preying on actual children." And And I know that's not the game for all of you. There are people in your community who are disguising themselves as allies and comrades, also that they could use your movement and use everything you talk about and your fight for respect as a means to prey upon the weak. And I'm not asking you to demean yourself. I'm not asking to address you by proper pronouns. I'm not asking to say your dead name. I'm asking you, all these people who fight for respect, everybody in the transgender community, all the people that talk about pronouns and how much we identify as something, you got to be the main ones saying, hey, this right here, we don't stand for this. We stand for this. We don't stand for grooming children. We don't stand for kissing children. We don't want to be identified as a bunch of people who will go around attacking young children and women. We stand for basic respect. That's all I'm asking. And to end this video, for any of the people that have sent me the paragraphs and said I'm transphobic, or you DM me saying I have right-wing talking points, understand that you're doing all of that for somebody who's a pedophile. That's basically it. You're not doing anything. You're not fighting for your movement. You're showing defense for somebody who's a pedophile. And if that's the hill you want to die on, it's going to be a long time before you get respect from anybody. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see y'all in the next one. Goodbye.